We have a few of our guest speakers today that are going to come and talk to us about a few of our concerns, and then we'll have a panel at the end for everyone to ask any questions. So first, our guest speaker is Osama, and he is a alumni from our school who's a nuclear engineer, and in his free time he loves to dedicate his time attending conferences, reading biographies, histories, psychology, and philosophy, and producing educational video content on his YouTube channel. So he will take it away.
Awesome. Thank you for the introduction, Alex. Just wanted to do a mic check to make sure everything works. Hopefully it does. So yeah, my name is Osama, and that was a great introduction. I'm a recent graduate and alumni from the nuclear engineering program at Ontario Tech. And yeah, I had the pleasure of graduating in the COVID era, so I didn't really have a graduation ceremony, unfortunately. But it is a very interesting time that we're living in. And I really have a lot of sympathy and a lot of, I'm really proud of all of you who've signed up and taken the leap of faith to go to university during this time. So it's a big step for all of you. And I'm sure you guys will have a very successful undergraduate. So what I want to do here is just share a bit about my journey to start, and some of the things that some of the steps that I've taken, or some of the advice that I have as a recent graduate to adjust to the situation and really take on the monster that first year is in a positive light. So yeah, right now I'm working on Ontario Power Generation at the Pickering Nuclear Facility. It's one of the largest nuclear power plants in the world, and yeah, that's a bit of what I do. And I've spent 2 years in my undergrad doing different co-ops, working for the government, working for other companies. I've worked for 3 companies, so engineering consulting firms. So if you have any questions related to internships and co-ops, I can help out with that as well. Okay, let's start off. So first of all, I'm going to talk about course load. So course load when going to university is quite significant. It's a lot larger than high school. Coming out of high school, you're taking 4 courses per semester. And in university, for a lot of you guys, it's going to be nearly 6 or 5, right? So for me, that was the very first, it was kind of daunting for me to take on that massive course load. And not only are you doing lectures, right? You're doing tutorials, right? So tutorials are basically led by TAs, teaching assistants, and they help you throughout the course. You're also doing labs, which can be around like a few hours, like 2 to 3 hours. And your schedule is going to be jam-packed, okay? So that's what I'll start off with, is course loads. Just get ready to start really utilizing a schedule planner like Google, what is it called? The Google Calendar, right? That really helped me out. And time management. Time management is probably one of the most important, one of the important skills that you are going to have to develop. So to start off, time management is even harder. I feel it's even more difficult when you're at home and you have so many distractions. So really start utilizing your resources that are around you, right? To the best of your ability. Whether it be getting used to using Blackboard, My Campus. I know that was a bit of a learning curve, right? And the best thing that I do is I just favorite those two on my tab, my internet browser tab, so I can just access them from anywhere. And yeah, so first year is, to be honest, it's a big jump, it's a big leap because of the workload. But also with the workload, like assignments, labs, tutorials, lectures, it's also managing high levels of stress. Okay, I remember in my first year, your hairline's going to start to go up. So not to scare you, but you're gonna experience quite a bit of stress just because you're jumping into such a new environment. And whereas in high school, your teachers might have been spoon feeding you. I know they spoon fed me. Um, you're in university, it's a different format. It's more of a self-learning and similar to this. By the way, if you guys have any questions, just make sure to use the chat feature below and just post them. I don't mind at all, just while I'm talking. So if there's a bit of time, I'll answer some questions as well if you guys have. Managing high levels of stress. So you're gonna have high stress levels, and I think the best way to relieve stress, it's different for everyone. Everyone has a different outlet. For me, it's exercise, right? A healthy stress relief. Okay, so like go out for a run, or simply just what I did in my first year was pretty much go to the gym, but that may not be an option. So go out for a run, do some push-ups at home, sit-ups, right? Look up some routines, yoga, right? You can really do that easily at home, just watching a YouTube video. Now let's get into online courses. Okay, online courses are a bit different. It's a different ball game as compared to, I feel, in person. Online courses really dependent on what you enjoy. You can become disengaged very easily for me, because I'm a person who kind of feels the energy in a room and really interacts with that energy, and that energy feeds me in terms of my enthusiasm and my concentration. So I'm working from home right now, and even while taking online courses in my undergrad, I saw that learning curve of just really having to focus a lot more. Okay, and writing down questions, taking down notes. So I've taken very, very difficult courses, right? Like very high intensity, like nuclear fusion. I've taken it online, but I've also taken a lot more, courses in the in like liberal electives and whatnot that are also difficult, but a little bit different the content. So for me, I find that online courses aren't actually as scary as you may think. Okay, it's very convenient to attend them because you can really, there's a lot of benefits to online courses. But what I would recommend is try your best to stay engaged, make some friends in those courses, and maybe even plan to attend them together. That's one strategy that you can use toward attending online courses. Okay, let's see. So another thing that working from home is your environment. Okay, your environment plays a huge impact on influencing your behavior. Okay, and this I've done a lot of research into this field because of I've been working from home, so I need to understand this to kind of I'm facing the same issues that you'll be facing very soon. And the first thing is that right now I'm sitting on my couch, right? So if you're humans, we like to do certain tasks in certain environments, like our minds are kind of adapted toward that scenario. So if I'm hanging out on my couch, and usually on my couch I watch TV, it wouldn't be the best spot for me to maybe read a book or read my physics book, right? Because your attention will not always be driven toward that book. So I would recommend playing around with your environment so that you can utilize it for one task only, right? Not a specific course, but if you're using your table at home to kind of study, then only use it to study. Don't start playing games there because of how humans interact with environments. So Barbara asks, what was it like in college? University, college. It's for me, the study spot that I really thrived in was the third floor of the study room in the library. And it's pin drop silence. And I really thrived in that environment, whereas some people go crazy in that environment. So what I would recommend, Barbara, or to you guys in the chat, everyone, is to really find something that fits you, right? Like some of my friends, they learn better in groups, like group activities, group work, and a lot of my friends, they learn better in maybe a semi loud environment like a coffee shop, and others like me learn in a very very silent environment. So really, you're gonna figure out, dip your toes into the water, find out what environment do you thrive in. So it's gonna be a journey of self discovery, and I think you'll really love it. Um, one question that I kind of put down is finding your passion. Okay, so how many of you right now have think that they have found their passions? Comment in the, or put in a message, yes or no. That have you found your passion yet? Or do you think, are you confident that this is something that you want to do for the rest of your life? Like you are set for your career path? Okay. Awesome. Okay. Well, there's a lot of mixed answers. Okay. Cool. Awesome. So there's a big mix of answers. And for me, when I went into the nuclear engineering program, uh, I'll be honest, I wasn't the strongest at math. Okay, math was something scary to me. And I remember my parents telling me, like, my mom was like, "Are you sure you want to do engineering? Because you're not that good at math." And I told my mom, you know what, Mom, I'm gonna overcome that, right? I know I suck at math, but I'll overcome this barrier because it's something that I'm passionate about, a bit passionate about, not like crazy. And what happened was I really developed my passion over time. Okay, so for me, my passion didn't start in the beginning. It was something that developed over time. And I feel as though in first year, it's a discovery, right? And the best way to find your passion is to look up to someone like an alumni, or approach a professor like Professor MacMillan, and find a mentor, find someone that you can go to and really get that guidance from, um, get that insight from. Like, hey, if it's a third year student that just did an internship that you really want to do, go approach them and find out, uh, how their journey is like, find out what their personality is like. For me, I'm an extrovert who uh, who basically am a people's person. I love engaging with people, interacting with people. So for me, a job like a design engineer or something very specific may not be the best thing for me. So first year is really figuring out, hey, do I enjoy this material, right? Do I have that passion? Like, hey, I didn't really enjoy mathematics, but I was willing to sacrifice. I was willing to put in the time and effort to learn that, to get out of my comfort zone. So in first year, you don't have to be an expert, is what I'm trying to say. It's somewhere where you're gonna get out of your comfort zone. You're gonna experience courses where you enjoy more, right? Or enjoy less. Like first year, physics one, I didn't perform really well, but when I took physics two, I performed really well with Joseph MacMillan. He's gonna be talking. So there's just a couple minutes left for me. And I'm just going to end off with make friendships. Okay. Right now, okay, awesome. That's a good question. Barbara. So right now, make friendships at the moment. This workshop is the best networking opportunity right now. Okay. So what I would recommend is you maybe find the names of everyone or get emails. Okay. And reach out to people, right, who are in your program. Use this chat feature right now. Message, who is in engineering, who is in nursing at the moment, right? And figure out who's in your class, right? So yeah, use this platform to your advantage. And yeah, immediately, don't be shy, right? Because this is a resource for you guys, okay? And I'll be ending around 5 minutes, I believe. So there is a bit of time. Um, I'd say in first year, develop strong habits, right? Like networking is a habit that you're gonna have to develop. So develop it right now, right? Like reach out to those people on Facebook, whatever social network that you use, right? In a professional manner, obviously, right? Um, Develop hobbies, right? Like for me in first year, I really had to cut down my video gaming, Netflix, right? Like that kind of got annihilated because I had so much responsibility, right? And take on even more responsibility. I'm pretty I'm pretty proud of some of the first years, right? Like a first year that's organizing this, Alex. So I'm like, wow, like she's just entering her first year. It's her summer, and she's already engaged. She's already part of Enactus skill series. So uh, so I really recommend that that you start doing that. Okay. Um, and yeah, Mal, let me know if it's time, if just cut me off at any moment. So am I done?
Yeah, so we're just going to open the floor up to questions. Um, so if anyone just wants to unmute themselves. Or type in the chat box, and then you can answer those questions.
Go for it, guys. Don't be shy.
Mal, can you hear me?
Yep.
There was a question in the chat. I think it just was a little bit up if you scroll up, and it said, do they have any information on the Ontario Tech Campus Library?
All right, so not at the moment, as far as I know. I know, Osama, you probably graduated, so you might not know as much as well.
Yeah, I have no clue. Sorry, guys.
But we will let you guys know. So if you guys are not a part of the undergraduate chat, so I will, in the follow-up email after this event, I will, we'll be sending some links to Facebook pages, Discord groups for students, created by students for students, that you can access other resources for and important things like that. And we could just sort of go from there. All right, guys, is that okay?
That's okay.
Mal, I do know that the library came out and they said they will be offering some seats that'll be 6 feet apart. So just for those who might not have a place to study, the library will have some study space, but please note it will be extremely limited. So I'm not sure, again, all the little details on how they're working that out if you book a space, but that is the good news. They will have some spots for students to study, and masks will be required when you are in the building.
What about for transcripts, if you can hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
I was asking about like the transcripts, like of how you put them in or things like that.
The transcripts.
Yes.
What type of transcripts are you talking about?
Like the transcripts for your grades or things that your teachers have not gotten in yet.
Oh,
like the things,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the teacher transcripts.
I see. Professor MacMillan, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, I really think that's probably a question for admissions or the registrar's office. If you're looking to submit like late high school grades, if that's what you're thinking about, then you'd have to reach out to the admissions office directly. I don't think anybody here would probably know much more than that.
Okay, that's good enough to know.
Yeah, are you facing some sort of problem?
I suppose so. Like I did put in my transcript at least 2 times, but they didn't email me anything back yet.
Okay, I would recommend calling them as well. Just bug them as much as possible. Right? Just call, email, try everything, because I've had some trouble like in high school as well, like because of some mix-ups in my courses. and getting my transcripts through. So yeah, I would call them, email them, do everything.
Okay.
That's a good question though. Anyone else have any questions? Don't be shy. No question is stupid. So every question is valuable.
Osama, there was a question that someone asked that said, what time should they wake up at? I think you were going to comment on it. Did you want to talk about that?
Sure. Yeah, I think sleep is very important in first year, and it's something that I kind of didn't do my best in taking advantage of. I try not to pull all-nighters, okay, because they don't help. The schedule that really works for me, and everyone's different because everyone has a different sleeping schedule and sleeping type. You can do some more research into this on a separate note. There's this really good book. It's called Why We Sleep. Okay, it's amazing. So for me, what works is sleeping at 9 p.m. and waking up at 5 a.m. So I have the morning it's pretty much an entire day to do whatever I want. So that's basically my schedule that's really productive for me. Yeah. Any other questions? How much did your marks drop from high school to first year? Oh, that's a really good question, Anna. So for me, I'm going to be really honest here, right? I'm not claiming to be a 4.0 GPA student. Okay. For me, my GPA, so my high school marks were pretty much in the 80s. So I always had really good marks. And oh my God, first year engineering took the biggest hit. I think my GPA was probably like 2.3. So I went from like an 80 something percent all the way down to almost like a 60 something, right? Like 60, I don't know what that is, like 63, 64%. So that's like almost 20% hit, okay? So for me, on a personal level, it took a huge hit. So yeah, like, and then in the second and third year, fourth year, it really went up after that. So yeah, a lot of first years, they do experience that, like marks going down. But I've also seen the opposite, where actually, yeah, I don't see the opposite too often. but yeah, that's a good question, Anna. So for me, my marks went down 20%. So huge hit. Oh, so yeah, so for Noor, her marks pretty much stayed similar, and I'm sure it's because of her work ethic and the amount of time that she dedicated toward that. Yeah, that's a good question. Did your studying habits change from high school to university? Yes, they did, very much, because as I said, in high school, teachers are pretty much spoon feeding you, whereas in university, it's more of a lecture format, larger class sizes, like 300 kids in a class. So it's a different format, and in university, there's more self-learning. So for me, I had to learn how to learn. Okay, if that makes sense. So yeah, my studying habits did change a lot from high school to university. So yeah, Kyra is a peer leader. So she's ready to help. So yeah, network, guys, use this place, this workshop. Okay.
Do we by any chance have school on the weekends or no? I wanted to at least ask that.
That's a good question. For me, in my first year, we didn't really have school on the weekends, other than some exams that may be on the weekends. How about we ask Professor MacMillan, are any of the courses or anything looking like they're on the weekends?
It's pretty rare. There were some suggestions, I think, a couple of years ago about putting some courses on Saturdays, and I think in some programs they do that, especially in programs that are geared towards mature students or students who have to work. But for the most part, your weekends will be your own.
All right, guys. So we're gonna bring it back to Alex real quick, so we could go on to the next speaker. We will be answering questions at the end as well, so feel free. Now bringing it back to Alex.
Okay, well, thank you, Osama, for that. Some great questions from some of our attendees as well. So our second guest speaker for today is Dr. Joseph MacMillan, who is one of our physics and astronomy professors at our university. He's been teaching for over 10 years and has received his BHc in astrophysics from St. Mary's U, which is in Halifax, and moved to Kingston, Ontario for his MSc and PhD from Queen's, and he joined our Ontario Tech team in 2007, and he's frequently found within our first year courses. So here's Mr.
Thank you very much, Alex, for the introduction. And I'm happy to be here today. I want to thank the organizers and Actis for inviting me along, because I think it's a really important thing to get students together, excuse me, for to start the year like this, because it's going to be such a weird year, especially from my perspective, when I'm so used to teaching to classes that are 250 students in size. To have to do it online, it's going to be a big change. And so I think programs like this and events like this are really going to help bring back the social aspect of teaching. I'm not going to talk, I think, as long as Osama, even though it's my job is to talk. I have a couple things to say, but then I'd really, like to answer as many questions as I can, both here and at the Q&A session at the end of the panel. So let me start out with something that I think doesn't get said quite enough, which is that we are in the middle of a pandemic, and so certainly from my perspective as a professor, I am not holding students to the same kind of expectations that I would in a regular year. When we closed the university down in the winter term, it was a huge shift, and it was really stressful. And so I'm by no means expecting the fall to be that different. And so I really want to stress that we're still in a pandemic. Things are still crazy. I've been working all summer to put really good courses together, but I also hope that students will remember that their professors are also doing their pandemic best here. So keep that in mind, right? We certainly will have different expectations for students, and I'm hoping that you guys will be okay, and your professors, if if they don't respond right away, keep in mind they're trying to figure out the best way to send their kids to school and that sort of thing. So that's what I want to start out with saying. It is still pandemic times, but let me tell you a little bit about how I'm approaching my courses. And every course, every program will be different. I noticed in the chat everyone was putting their programs up. I didn't see anybody in physics, and that's okay. We have a very small program. I wasn't really expecting anybody, but every course will be a little bit different. But for me, when we're doing an online course, what I want to do really is offload as much of the content delivery as possible to things like videos and reading, because that's the kind of thing that I don't really want to do in the classroom anyway. I mean, even before the pandemic, I really wanted to do as much of a flipped classroom as possible, where I would ask students to read about things before coming in, and then we would just focus on the classroom about understanding the concepts and making sure that we can learn from each other, and doing examples and going over problems, that sort of thing. And so I want to do the same thing with online courses. So I've been working this summer on making a bunch of videos that are sort of introduction to different concepts in physics. And so that's what I'm going to give to my students. But I'm still going to have some synchronous class sessions, by which I mean we'll have regularly scheduled classes still. And this isn't true for all of the different courses you'll have. Some of them might be purely asynchronous, where all you'll do is sort of offline kind of stuff and not have regular meetings. But I want to continue doing that, because I think having students get together, even if it's online, is really crucial to learning subjects like physics. And so when we come into the classroom, we'll be using Google Meet or maybe Kaltura, which is another video thing. And I'll talk a little bit more about technology in a second. I want to make sure that students have a chance to think about physics deeply, talk about physics with their friends, with their peers, with their fellow classmates, and actually see me go over examples carefully. So I'm going to try to do all of that, and I'm hoping it's not too ambitious, that I'll be able to do a good job by my students. And then, so the third thing I wanted to mention is just a little bit of advice coming in for the fall. And I'll be honest, like, this is the first time I'm going to, purposefully teach an online semester at school. I'm always very much a face-to-face kind of proponent. I really like interacting with students. I find that's very rewarding. And so I have no idea how it's going to go, right? I'm very nervous about my first day of class. I'm very nervous about the term. And so I thought I would at least give some advice, what I think is, the best way to approach these courses. And so I just want to start with the very first thing. And I should mention too that the first two pieces of advice here are by no means specific for online stuff. The first piece of advice is that you should ask for help when you need it. And this is crucial, and this is something that took me a long time to learn, and that's that you can't learn everything on your own, right? That's why I'm here, that's why the university is here, that's why your peers are there, so that you can get the help when you need it, so that you're in an environment where you can actually, learn in a nice linear sort of way, when you don't have to stumble over everything. You can get that help when you need it. So my first piece of advice is to ask questions. Ask your professor, ask your teaching assistants, ask your fellow classmates, ask anybody you can for that help when you need it. And the university has done a really good job really providing that resources for getting help, for everything from the Student Learning Center to just having a really open and engaging set of faculty, of professors at the school. We have the resources to get you that help. You just have to make sure you can ask for it when you need it. And sometimes it's really hard. It was really hard for me to do that. So that's my first advice. My second is, excuse me, sorry, I had to cough there. My second piece of advice is about making a schedule for yourself. It was one of the things I found back when we closed the campus in the winter, is that it was really difficult for my students and me to actually make it to class on time and do the work, because all of a sudden we were at home, we were surrounded by family and not our university, not our campus. And it's difficult in that environment sometimes to learn. I think Osama made some really good points about that, about having a really good environment for you to learn in. And I think one of the ways that you can really help that with that is to make yourself a good daily schedule. And stick to it as much as possible. When are you going to attend class? When are you going to work on this particular project? When are you going to work on that assignment? And so on. And I think it's really critical to plan your time well. I know that earlier we were talking about the big changes going from high school to university in terms of grades. One of the reasons I think why people see that shift is just because, well, sort of two reasons. One is that university, so the material at university is not necessarily a lot more difficult than high school. And again, speaking sort of from the physics perspective, which nobody here really cares about, but I'll say it anyway, as it's probably true in other programs. The material in physics is not that much more advanced than what you might see in high school. The real difference instead is the workload, the amount of work that not just me, but all of your other professors pile on you. It really can catch up to you really quickly if you don't stay on top of it. And the other thing about university too is that you're expected to be so much more independent than high school. You have to meet the deadlines. You have to accept the consequences for not meeting deadlines or not doing the work. And so that onus is on you to really do it. So I think one of the best things you can do is come up with a schedule for yourself, a weekly schedule to block off the time that you need. And then my third piece of advice is sort of specific to having an online environment, and it's new for me. I'm pretty nervous about using all of the tools. I'm not even an expert at using Zoom, which we're using here, and so I'm nervous about using all these tools. And so I've been using the summer to get familiar with everything. And so I recommend that you do that too. Right? Take a look at Canvas, which is our learning management system. Basically, all of your course information is going to be on this one particular website. Make sure you understand where everything is located, what everything you can do there, because there's a lot of really cool features that'll help you get in contact with your professor or other students. And so dig around, play around with all of the new technology they'll be expected to use. They're tools, and so it's it's really on you, and it's important for you to learn how to use those tools. And so some of them are new. In fact, Canvas is going to be a brand new LMS for all students, not just for incoming first-year students. So get used to those tools, play around with them. Because that's where all of the help is really going to be found. that is pretty much all I wanted to say. I know I've now rambled on a little bit more, but feel free to ask me some questions in the chat if you like, or you can come on the mic and ask there as well, and I'm happy to answer. All right, so we've got some questions coming in already. That's good. When should we get textbooks? I mean, soon. It depends on where you're getting them from. You can order them from our university's bookstore, or you can get them from Amazon or from wherever, Chapters, whatever. Unlike a lot of your professors, right? And so maybe you shouldn't take my advice here to heart, but my feeling is that until September 8th, whenever we start classes, your time is your own, right? And unless you really are nervous about something, I don't recommend, getting an early start. I want you to relax, have fun, blow off steam if you're nervous. When September hits, then you can start buckling down and getting to work. But until then, I kind of want you to have fun in the summer, right? This is your last opportunity for 4 months, maybe 8 months, for you to relax and have fun. So do that, and then get your textbooks so that you have them in time for that first day. Take a look at Canvas for information about what you should be reading in those textbooks, but don't start too early, right? Don't forget to have fun.
Here's what I found on the web.
What? All right, is there, yes, the university bookstore does price match. And so, yeah, you can always give them the Amazon price and they'll match it. All right, so another question, is there a different level of expectance from students as we are fully online? Yeah, from me there is. I mean, I expect students to, work hard still, but at the same time, I'm fully understanding of the fact that you might be stuck at home caring for your younger siblings, or maybe your children, maybe you're working a job or something, and these are things that people have to do. Maybe you're working for your grandparents, or helping your grandparents out, and you've got people that are immunocompromised and can't come into the campus for any reason. These are things that we absolutely understand, and so I'll definitely expect you to work hard, but we're totally, at least from me, I'm totally going to be reasonable when students tell me that, they've got this thing that they have to do and they can't come to class or whatever, and I'll be totally flexible there. And I really want to make sure enough content and enough work, right, has enough time for like flexible deadlines, right? So if I give you a week to do something, that should be more than enough time, so you can start it when you've got that free time, as opposed to, here's this thing, it's due tomorrow, you have to do it right away. I want to make sure that students can be flexible with their time, and I think that hopefully will work out for everyone. Okay, so any more questions? Maybe not. I'll spend a bit of time, because I do like to hear my own voice, but I'll spend a bit of time echoing another thing that I think Osama said that was really, really important, which is that you should find a mentor. And it's true, talk to everyone. I think that was a really important piece of advice, because the closer you get, especially to your professors and TAs, in the early part of your undergraduate learning, the better off it's going to, the more payoff it's going to be down the line. I write students a lot of reference letters, and if I know those students really well, because they've come out and sought me out and asked me questions and talked to me about things, I can really tailor those reference letters for them, and that really helps when you're applying for things like graduate school or med school or dental school, wherever else people are interested in. Okay, so when are we going to be given direction on how to access our online lectures? That is a good question too, and I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that within the next 2 weeks or so, that's a long time frame, I'll be putting everything up on Canvas for my class and publishing that course, but I don't know what date. Like, really, it's somewhere in your OntarioTechU.net email account. You should have an email directing you to where your LMS is, where your courses will live, that sort of thing. And if it's not there, hopefully it'll be coming soon, because I know everything's a little bit different this year, and so hopefully all of the information you have will come to that official on university OntarioTechU.net email account. So, I mean, don't worry too much, but in the next week or so, absolutely should be getting some direction for that. This, by the way, is the biggest problem with online lectures that I've had. Is like when I stop talking and I just hear silence, and I hear that dead air, and I feel like I have to fill it. So I'm just gonna keep rambling on. This is what I did when I taught classes back in March and April, and it's tough to overcome.
Okay, well, thank you for that. We'll have more time at the end if anyone else decides that they have more questions. And for our final guest speaker, we have Lindsay Smith. She's one of our academic skills coordinators, and she's worked all throughout the university in different departments such as like teaching and our learning center and our student mental health services. So, for Lindsay.
Hi, everyone. Well, thank you so much. I just want to say I completely agree with all of the great advice Osama and Professor MacMillan gave. So I'm just going to sort of touch a little bit upon the time management piece and show you a couple things. So I'm going to share my screen. Alex, do you have to unshare yours, or can I just share mine right away?
I think
you have to stop sharing, and then I'm going to share.
Yeah, 1 second.
Thank
There
you
you go.
so much. Okay, great. So let me just open this up. Okay, can everyone see that? Yeah? Okay, great. So as Alex mentioned, my name is Lindsay Smith. I am the Academic Skills Coordinator at the Student Learning Center. So essentially what I do in my role is I develop and coordinate large-scale retention and transition programs. So one of those programs that some of you might be familiar with, and I'm referring to the students that are coming into Ontario Tech this September for the first time, is the My Start program. So I just wanted to let you know, if you haven't checked it out, you need to register for your courses first, and you'll have access to My Start, which is in Canvas. So it's actually, we took our entire, what was our in-person academic transition program, and we moved it all online. So it's great if you haven't checked it out yet. There's an asynchronous component where you can work through your faculty-specific module, but then we're doing live workshops. We've been doing them since July. We even offer evening workshops as well. So check some of those out. I just wanted to let you know, I know for some of the upper year students, you may have heard about the Student Learning Center. I just want to let you know about some of the services that we have, especially for those entering Ontario Tech this September. So although I'm part of Student Learning Center, I come from an umbrella of the student life. So we have student life, and under student life, there's career services, there's student accessibility services, there's student mental health services, and there's student equity and engagement. So basically all of those services, you're already paying for them. They're built into your tuition. So please use them if you need them, and use them right away. Don't wait till, final exam time to reach out for tutoring. When you need that support, you reach out, because we are here for you. Pretty much all of the services that we were offering in person, we've just moved them online. So for example, our mental health counselors are doing online counseling. You can do it on the phone or on Skype, and same with our services. So just to let you know what Student Learning Center does, we offer workshops in a lot of different areas like physics, engineering, math, writing, and the STRIDE program, which is study skills workshops. So we offer a ton of different workshops. We typically have in-person learning communities, which were drop-in spaces like physics space, the writing room, math study hall at Chem Corner. We are trying to turn those into an online type of drop-in space. So we've opened up a ton of different appointments for that support. We have peer tutors, who are upper year trained tutors who have gotten an A in a course, and they can tutor you one-on-one virtually coming into September. We have past leaders. We're still running our past program in September. So we have I think there's about 10 of them. They pick the top really difficult courses, and we offer past sessions. So a past session is where, I'm going to use an example, say Calculus 1010. It can be a bit of a challenging course. So we will have an upper year student who already took the course, got the A in the course, and actually goes to class with you. And then they provide supplemental instruction. So if you had class Tuesdays and Thursdays in Calc 1010, they are going to offer that supplemental instruction on the Tuesday or Wednesday, the very next day, and they're going to review what's in that lecture. they don't keep focusing on what was happening weeks ago. They actually follow along with your course. So if you learn something on Tuesday, that next pass session is going to be what you learned. And it's really cool because they, it's very interactive, and they'll work through a lot of the problems. You can raise your hand, meet a ton of new friends, and we're doing it all virtually. And lastly, there's just like a ton of one-on-one support. So whether it's with a specialist or a peer tutor, we are there to help you. Again, if I miss anything in the chat box, I'll look after. My screen's a little funny because I'm sharing a PowerPoint. I just want to touch upon the time management piece, in which, again, Professor MacMillan and Osama really mentioned a lot of things I was going to say. So I am going to quickly go through this. So there is quite a difference between in-person learning and online learning. So in person, it's definitely much more structured. You're getting that face-to-face connection, which Professor MacMillan said he missed, and as well I do. In-person office hours, networking opportunities for sure. We always say, like, go introduce yourself to your professor, like walk up and greet them and say hello. Make sure, you know, sit at the front of the class. So online, you won't totally have that opportunity, but I'll tell you some good news after about the online area. And I know in person, it gives you a really strong sense of belonging and a sense of community. But with online, there is some pros. So there is going to be offering synchronous and asynchronous sessions. So Professor MacMillan actually already said that. So some courses are going to be pre-recorded lectures, and you're going to be able to watch them at any time you want. And I'm going to give you a couple tips on how to handle that. And then there's going to be synchronous sessions where you have to show up at 10 a.m. to watch a live lecture. The great thing is you can study anywhere, log in from anywhere. I know I've seen people at their cottages working, in New Brunswick working, so you're able to kind of be anywhere and still do your schoolwork. There's no commute, which I personally love. Work well, hopefully, while attending school, so maybe you can work a little bit more in the day now that you have some flexibility, and hopefully just a better work, school, home life balance. So I want to give you a couple quick tips for online learning. So I'm hoping that you're going to treat your online course the same as you would your in-person course. And I know some of you are coming from maybe high school or college, or maybe you've been in the workforce for a while. What I mean by that is basically what Osama and Professor MacMillan were saying, is like to create a routine, create a study schedule, and anytime you have, this is probably one of my favorite little sort of tips about this, if you have an asynchronous course, meaning that your professors pre-recorded the lecture, if you can, please try to watch it at the same time every week. I will tell you, when COVID hit, the one thing I noticed was a lot of my students were coming to me saying they're behind 8 lectures. Can you imagine watching hours and hours and hours of lectures trying to catch up? It can be a little bit overwhelming. So I would say really do your best to keep up and schedule those asynchronous courses at the same time and keep that really nice routine going. Creating daily to-do lists can be really important. I'm going to show you a couple quick examples of templates of that in a minute. This was touched upon. Create a clean, organized, and quiet study space. So if you live with a bunch of people, if you have children like I do, if you have roommates working at the kitchen table and dining room table, it was not working for me. I got thrown up into the upstairs hallway. So create a space that's going to work for you. I would say a common thing from upper year students that they tell me is that if they study in bed, I'm like, what happens? And they say they fall asleep. If you consistently fall asleep in bed, please don't study in bed. Like, try to make some sort of like clean desk space for you, and that's always where you're going to be, where you watch your lectures and you do your homework and you're studying. Taking breaks, I wanted to mention this. This is more important now that we are in an online environment. I'm not sure if any of you have noticed this, but there's so many articles coming out saying that now that we're on these Zoom calls and you're going to be in class 15 hours a week online, it's actually becoming a lot more draining for us. And because we're looking at all of our little webcams and we're noticing all the things people are doing, and you know, like one person's drinking their tea and they're walking away, and it's very visually distracting and mentally draining. So please take your breaks after your classes. And again, same with studying. You're still going to obviously integrate some breaks into your studying, but I really think it's so important now that we're in an online environment. Sorry, I'm talking quite quickly. I just have quite a few things I want to get through in 10 minutes. Embrace technology. I won't go too much into this. I really felt like Professor MacMillan touched upon this perfectly. I had to use Canvas, which is going to be your learning management software system in September. So all your courses are going to be on there, and you will be checking that like 5 times a day. And if you're not, try to keep checking it often as much as you can. I will tell you, I never used Canvas in my life, and I had to develop and launch an entire orientation program on it in 8 weeks. And I did feel overwhelmed at first, and now I feel like a little bit of an expert. I was helping other people with it. So as much as you can, calm your nerves about technology. Practice before school starts if you feel you need to, because I really think that makes such a difference in adapting to university in this online environment. So find your learning community. So again, this has already been touched upon, but I completely agree. I think it's so important to form study groups. I saw you all posting your Instagram handles. I've been doing workshops for the My Start program, and I got them to exchange them, and now there's a huge nursing group now that they've created for study groups. So there's many ways to find a learning community in that sense of belonging. So whether it's going to your virtual office hours, so many professors and TAs are still there to support you, just the same as they were in person, except it's just virtual. So please reach out to your professor if you need support and help. Again, reaching out to your peers, whether you post it in a discussion board or try to email it to some of your peers in your class and say, who wants to form a study group? I'm telling you, there will be the virtual hands raised. They will want to join that with you. One of the best ways to retain information is teaching others. So please create those study groups and teach each other the information. It's going to help best prepare you for those midterms and finals. Same way you can create those study groups. And like I said, we are going to still offer our learning communities and sort of those interactive supports. So join us at PASS, join us at the workshops. You're meeting people in your same program, and a lot of the times they're in the same year. So check that out. Participate on the discussion board. So every course will have a discussion board, whether there's grades associated with using this discussion board or not, and assignments, that's different for every professor. I just wanted to say that it's really great to be engaged in those discussion boards. So check those out and participate. And I already talked a little bit about a routine, so I'm going to skip over that. So time management, I think it is one of the keys to success in university. So I actually am going to share on the chat group in a minute when I can get back to the Zoom feature. I'm like Professor MacMillan, I've never used Zoom before. I'm used to Google Meets and Kaltura. So when I get back to the screen, I'm going to post a link in the chat box, and it's actually a time management quiz. And I really like it. It's super easy and really quick. And so I will share the link with you, and I want you to just be really self-aware. So what are you doing to stay organized? What are you using right now? And if what you were using in high school wasn't working, and by that, I mean, if you were using like your phone calendar and you never checked your phone calendar, don't use your phone calendar. Try something different this year. If you have to go to the dollar store, I found really good ones for $3 and get yourself like an actual hard copy agenda. Or if you want to use Google Calendar, which I love, you can color code it. You can see month, day, view, hour, and it syncs with your OntarioTech.net email. I highly recommend using that. So the quiz is a great way to see like, where am I at? Really to be self-aware of like what's working, what's not. And I love this quiz because each question gives you some, if you scored low on question 2, it kind of gives you some tips on what that question was leading towards, whether it's goal setting or prioritizing or time management. So I will share that quiz in a minute. I just can't get back to the chat box right now because I'm stuck in my PowerPoint. Okay, last couple of things here. Please, Mal, cut me off if I'm rambling or taking up too much time. So taking action. There's a couple things I really want you to think about when you're entering school this September in this online environment. This was actually talked about by both Osama and Professor MacMillan. Create a study plan. I'm actually going to show you a quick sample of one. Anyone entering university and doing the My Start course, you can create your own study plan and submit it online, and I can actually give you feedback through the My Start course. And then if you want, if there's students who are not in that and you're entering in your upper years, in September, October, and November, always in the first 3 months of the semester, we offer a workshop called Managing Me. It's literally a workshop on how to create a study plan. Please join us. It's all through the Student Life portal, and I can share that link in a minute. Creating task lists can be really helpful. I'm going to share a quick sample of that in a second. Virtual Post-it notes. This is, again, a free app. So lots of my upper year students love to use those virtual color-coded those Post-it notes on your desktop screen. So like green can be for biology, blue is physics, and they'll put all their due dates and they can cross off what they've done and keep like a to-do list for each course. So I think it's a great way to stay organized, and I know a lot of successful students really like using the virtual post-it notes. The Pomodoro technique, I'm going to show you that really quick lastly. And then I wanted to mention the reminders. Many students love to set reminders on their phone, and then I ask them, how's it going? And they say they ignore it. We live in an age of technology where they swipe that away and they don't even look. So what I would say is your reminders are great, but maybe set them for like your midterms, your finals, and like maybe due dates. Don't set them for like every class and every little thing that you're going to do. Maybe limit it to the super important things that you can't miss. Okay, so here is a sample of a typical study plan for a social science student. I know you're all coming from different areas. This follows the same principle, but what I'll say is that every study plan looks a little different because you're all a little different. You all have your own things going on in your life. And everyone prioritizes things a little bit differently. I just wanted to give you a quick idea of what this would look like and how you can modify it to suit yourself. We used a Google Calendar create this for a downtown social science student. So always though, I would say color code all of your classes. So this one we did intro to psych in red, sociology yellow, that kind of thing. This student happens to work 2 days a week. You'll see it on I think it's the Thursday and the Saturday, they work, and we color-coded work hours. This student prioritizes the gym. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they go every morning, so we put that in a different color. They happen to color-code all of their study time in blue. You can color-code your study time in matching corresponding to the lecture, so if you wanted on that Monday, instead of having the 3 to 5 psych study in blue, you could have had that in red to match your course. Color-coding can visually give you a really nice idea of what you have to do every week. This is called a fixed commitment schedule though. You're not gonna add in work hours if you never know when you're gonna work. If you work really random hours, or if you're going to a party, well, I guess we wouldn't go to a party in COVID. That was a horrid example. But if you had to go somewhere that was a socially distanced approved type of thing, I wouldn't want you adding that into your fixed commitment schedule. This is really something that you wanna do every single week and keep a really nice clean routine to. Someone asked when you should wake up. I do have students that actually put their sleep schedule in here and their break schedule. You can make this as full and as busy as you want, or as clean and like not have as many details. So that's a super quick overview of a study plan, but there's a ton of support. I can meet with you one-on-one. I would suggest like the first or second week of school, really creating one of these. I can meet you one-on-one to create it. Like I said, anyone coming into first year can use the course and submit it, or join us for a workshop. Okay, last few things, I swear, and I'm almost done. Okay, task lists. These are some super simple examples of nice ways to stay organized. So this one is a task list where they're going to list the task or like assignments that they have due. So this is a little chart. So this person they create their group for a business presentation, go to professor office hours to review midterm marks, and clean apartment. They rank these by priority of high, medium, low. We always say that you should be crossing off or checking off things that you've done. It's positive reinforcement. It is good for motivation, and it helps avoid procrastination. Time management, like creating a study plan, helps avoid procrastination. So feel free, put in the chat box if you're a procrastinator, because I know this is like, you're not alone. Most people, in my opinion, are procrastinators. There's just different levels of us. So these are great ways to avoid that, okay? Second last thing here. Assignment task list. So this is a different version of it. This is like specifically listing one assignment. This would be a psychology paper. I was a psych major, if you can't tell. It's my comfort zone. If I tried to use physics, which I do, by the way, Professor MacMillan, I always say things like, you know, when the vector and they're really fast, and it's horrible. I cannot use physics examples or engineering. So I use my comfort zone. So if you had a psychology paper, any type of paper, or lab work for physics, you can put in here the due date, the course, and then you're going to break down the task and how long it takes for each task. So this student has written all the steps out to write their their psychology paper. So it's finding those articles, reading, preparing outlines. Maybe the student could have even written in there, go to writing room, attend the writing room, get a writing specialist to review my paper. And then you're going to put the total hours, and the total is about 15 hours. Well, where are you finding 15 hours in your life now to write this paper? So if you are going to start in advance, do this when you get your assignment, and then you can do like each week, you do a couple tasks and cross those off. And last but not least, the Pomodoro technique. I've been talking about this for a little bit over the summer with some of the incoming first year students, and half say they've heard about it and half haven't. So the Pomodoro technique is by no means a new technique. It's just one that you can use to get started when studying. Feel free to try it out. If you don't like it, that's okay. Don't use it. Try something different. So this is a simple method to balance focus with deliberate breaks. So the Pomodoro, meaning like the little tomato kitchen timer, it's like Italian for the tomato. You don't have to use a kitchen timer. You can use your cell phone timer. You can use lockout browsers. And if you Google Pomodoro technique timer in YouTube, they actually have a built-in timer where it dings for every 25 minutes and it dings for your breaks. Essentially what this is you plan your tasks out. So if you had like your 1.5 hour study session, what are you doing in that 1.5 hours? You're going to write out, I will study vectors, then I will study other physics related tasks that I cannot think of solid examples for. So then you're going to list all the tasks that you need. And then basically what this says is you study for 25 minutes. You focus on what you're doing, lock your phone out, don't be checking anything like that. You do 25 minutes of focused work, which 25 minutes of focused work is 1 Pomodoro. And then you take a 5-minute break. You're really not supposed to work. You are supposed to let your brain digest, let the information start to soak a little bit into that long-term memory. And then you repeat. And so what this says is if you repeat your Pomodoros, you do your 25 minutes break, 25 minutes break, 25 minutes break. If you do 4 Pomodoros, they say that you can take a longer break. So maybe you're going to take a 30, 40-minute break. But if you were taking that 5-minute break, please don't go to Netflix. Like no one can stop an episode after 5 minutes. So go take a bio break, go for a quick 5-minute walk or grab a snack and then come back and focus. So this is just one technique to stay focused because I think we're going to really need it in that online environment. And that is it for me. So I will stop sharing and I will answer any questions in the chat box. Give me 1 second. Okay. I hope I did not take too long. Okay, there seems to be a lot here, and I apologize, I couldn't view them. Oh, past sessions seem really good place to find new friends and build. Yes, I agree, Osama. Very good advice. Thank you, and Professor MacMillan for all the lovely comments and support. Oh, sorry, the chat box just moved because someone was, yeah, so we have a couple procrastinators. I promise you having good time management is gonna really help you out. And I have a few people giving a nice shout out to the Pomodoro technique. So thank you for that. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm happy to answer them as best I can. The only thing I would say now is like, I kind of agree with what Professor MacMillan and Osama were saying, that I think coming into an online environment is scarier than it really is. I felt it too when COVID hit and I was just like, how am I expected to do an online appointment with someone and online workshops? I never did that ever before. Everything was in person. And honestly, we were able to transition all of our programming online and have had higher numbers. More people are coming to my stuff. So I promise you it's not as scary as it will seem. I know university can seem a little daunting and it's a huge transition, but just, yeah, try to do whatever you can to calm those nerves. And I think by being prepared is what's going to work. So I will not answer this one. I really, maybe Professor MacMillan might be better, or Osama, wondering what tutorials are actually like. I have been out of school for a long time, so I'm not going to take that one.
Yeah, tutorials really depend a little bit on what program you're in, but in general, they're an opportunity to work in smaller class sizes with a teaching assistant to give you a little bit more chance for one-on-one interaction, because normally a lot of first-year classes are really, really big, like with hundreds of students. Tutorials more like 30 students, and a chance to work on material and you know, maybe have a quiz, but mostly just, you know, small groups working on stuff.
There any other questions? It can like pretty much be about anything at this point.
So we actually got questions from our Instagram story that we posted yesterday, and the biggest question that we saw was, how do you deal with failure? So I just want to ask, like, all of you, what your thoughts are on how you guys dealt with failure in the past, and how did you, move on from there?
I think that's a really great question, and I think, and this is something that I've learned over the last number of years, is that it's okay to fail. And I really try to set my courses up so that it's okay to, have a really big mistake. And so I try to do things like, if I have 3 midterm tests, I'll allow you to drop the lowest one so that you can come in and bomb a test, hopefully learn from that lesson, but be okay afterwards. And so, I think that's the main thing I want to say, is that it's okay to fail sometimes. Making mistakes is how we learn. The important thing is to learn from those mistakes. I'm a poor example of, especially when it comes to my undergrad, of failing, because I didn't fail any courses. But when I hit graduate school, that's when things really started getting tough for me, and I struggled a lot with it. I didn't fail out, luckily, but I really did struggle with it. And so one of the things that I've learned, and this is something that was reinforced as I started working at an actual job, is that the more work you put in, the better you're going to be. And then the other thing too that I really had to learn, and it took me a long time, is to ask for help when I need it. And so, those are the 2 biggest things that I really took away from any time I, did poorly or started to fail something. But really, I think it's okay to fail something every once in a while, because it's just a part of learning, right? Making mistakes and learning from those.
I can go next if you'd like. The one thing I'll say about failure, I agree, that's a great question. Just to sort of make it this a little bit more of a personal comment, I went to University of Windsor, and in my first year, I was on academic probation. And I know it can seem so scary, and I work with students constantly now on academic probation. And I can promise you it is not the end of the world at all. So if you find yourself in that position, I failed 1 course in university, and then, it was a slippery slope. I wasn't, I knew what I did wrong. I was really like self-aware. To be honest, it was such a huge transition moving away from home. I lived in residence. It was like just living with, 50 of these friends. It was a really difficult transition for me. It was fun, but it was a really scary time to be on academic probation. So I know what it's like. I really relate to those students who have been on it. All I can say is that I realized, like, I really wanted to be at university and I didn't want to get kicked out. So I did reach out for support, and I asked for help from friends, and I did like a ton of tutoring, and I went to every class. I know that sounds like such simple advice, like go to class, but so many students will skip class, and I promise you that was the downfall for me, for sure. So I think having like a bit of a positive like growth mindset, knowing like, you can do this. It takes a lot of effort, and you have to, put that effort in to read the textbooks and work through those practice problems and going to class. But I want to say, if you fail a class, like, okay, you'll take another one. You can make up a class in the summer. Like, there's so many solutions to this. Your academic advisor is going to be your greatest guide. So if you fail a class, if you feel like you're not doing well in your program, please reach out to your academic advisor and talk to them about it. But I will tell you, I graduated with honors, a major and a minor, and I'm now teaching others how to study and do well in university. So, we all go through difficult times, and so don't be too hard on yourself if online learning is hard and courses are hard. I agree. Just reach out for help. Like, we have tutors and like so many courses and all these specialists that are literally sitting and waiting to help you. So I would say, as soon as you notice you're not doing well, reach out for the help and make the change. Don't sit there and feel bad and get too upset over that. Just recognize, okay, what am I doing wrong, and let's find out and make a couple little changes, and that will probably be your best bet. So I just wanted to add that there. Osama?
Yeah, so those are really good points, Lindsay and Joe. I think with failure, when it comes to failure, we all need to fail a bit to kind of learn how to succeed, right? And failure is all about part of that learning process. And as an engineering student, like I don't think I've met engineering students that have failed at least one course, right? Like that's normal to fail a course, right? And especially in first year, like I know right off the bat, some of my friends, they got like academic suspension or probation. But I think make sure you have that. So build those friendships, those networks, so that if you do fail, you can always reach out to someone and have someone hear you out and give you that support, right? That's what's difficult right now because you're kind of don't fall into the trap of isolation. Oh, sorry, don't fall into that trap of isolation, and don't be afraid of failure. Like I failed courses. I failed one course in my undergrad, but now I'm working for a utility. I think I'm doing pretty good at it, career wise. So I failed. I had a bad GPA, but I still I'm still working for a really good company. So don't even stress. Yeah, it's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and those are all great answers to it. And if anybody else has more questions to ask about, to anybody or even to all of the panelists, it would be a great opportunity right now. We still have like 15-ish minutes anyway, so we can use this time to answer any of the questions and stuff. And Lindsay is putting some links in a channel that she spoke during her presentation. So feel free to look at the Student Life portal and see all the events that they run on campus. Actually, well, online now, and also so Anna asks how are online labs going to work. So I think Professor MacMillan.
Yeah, and I hate to keep saying the same thing, that it depends on the course and on the program. In physics, I can tell you that we're going to have online labs for our first year courses, and it'll work by basically either with some like video demonstrations of here's some equipment and here's how you do this and then here's some data, and then the focus will be on analyzing the data and drawing conclusions from it, to more like simulations that are online of like you can simulate various things in physics online, and then we'll get you to make some measurements and again analyze and conclude. But it really depends, I think, on the program and on the course, and so everyone's going to have a slightly different setup. But all of our first year courses, at least in the Faculty of Science, will be have online labs. Our second, third, and fourth year physics labs will actually be in person. So we'll expect our students to come into class and be socially distant while they do the labs, which is its own kind of challenge. But I think online labs, for the most part, will be watch some videos, do some simulations online, and then work with some data. I'll answer the next question too, just while I'm on a roll here. Synchronous lectures are likely going to be recorded. Yeah, at least my plan for my lectures is to record synchronous lectures. I mean, I understand that students are going to have to miss class sometimes, and that's okay. We all have other things going on sometimes, and so it's okay to miss a couple classes. I'll expect students to come to most classes, but for those that you miss, I'll definitely post what we covered by recording the meeting and posting it online. I imagine most professors will do that as well.
I would say though, that's great that they're recorded, but just for anyone coming also into first year, like it's really important to go to the synchronous sessions because, for example, Professor MacMillan might be working through a problem and you can follow along and work, but then you can ask questions. And if it's if you're just watching recordings all the time, you're not able to engage and ask any questions. And I think, again, that's so valuable. So try your best to always go to those classes.
Yeah, just to add, be careful. Be really careful about those. Like sometimes, right? And if you're watching them right before your midterm or your final exam, then that's kind of tough to do because, there might not even be enough time in the day unless it's on 24 hours, right? Like you need to eat, you need to sleep. So hold on with the correct timings. So yeah, good advice, Lindsay and Joe.
Yeah. Barbara asked, do you have to take the same subjects again, like English and math? I'm guessing that is a program-specific question. Um, does anybody want to answer that kind of question? I think Barbara's probably first here.
Sorry, I totally stepped out of the room for a second, but what question are we answering now? Is it the textbook one or?
The one just above it from.
Okay, right. Oh yeah, so here we go. It depends on the. So we don't have any English courses at the university, so that's interesting. We have some communication courses, but we don't have any real humanities courses, or at least not yet. We're starting to bring some in, I think. But certainly a lot of programs will be taking math courses. And some of the first year courses, I regret to say, do in fact have some high school content in them. And so in some ways, like our physics course, for example, and our calculus course, if you've taken high school calculus, they are a bit of a repeat, but they're at a higher level, they're a little bit more challenging, and the workload is definitely a little bit higher. And so try not to, get complacent because you've already taken something. The university level is definitely a little more difficult to do. And so, so yeah, just try your best and yeah, take the courses that are in your program.
And I'll just say one quick thing for anyone coming into Ontario Tech in September. If you're nervous about your math, so anyone who's engineering and applied science, energy systems and nuclear science, and faculty of science, the MyStart course is, there's a couple different areas that are super important, but there's like quite a big push with the math, especially for calculus 1010, among other stuff. But please check that out. And they even have a quiz on there. It's kind of cool, and it says if you score a certain, like if it's lower than say 9, I forget what the score is. Say it's like 19 out of 25 or something. They say then you need to go through the prerequisite calculus material, because they're expecting you to know it before you enter university. So check that out if you're worried about any math. It's a common concern. That's why I'm bringing that up. And the MyStart program is really geared for those 3 faculties, the big push towards the math. So take a look, because there's a lot of stuff they're not going to reteach you. They just want you to know it coming in. And I think, Professor MacMillan, you might have mentioned the textbook one. Do you want to maybe just...
Yeah, totally. I love textbooks. So yeah, I think if your textbook is listed on the campus bookstore, it's the correct one. That's the information that's been provided to the bookstore by your professor. And so if you want to, go ahead and purchase it beforehand. I will talk about the textbook in my class, and I'm sure most professors do that. But the information that's online is correct. And so if you want to purchase it, go ahead. I will say that I highly recommend trying to get your textbook as cheaply as possible. And so look for secondhand copies, used copies. If you know people who've taken the course before, that's a really good resource. Textbooks are fantastic. I love textbooks. I have a lot of them. And so I recommend a physical textbook as opposed to an online PDF or online rentals. But at the same time, if you can't afford a physical textbook, then do what is best for you. The textbooks that I have today, some of them are the ones that I got in undergrad, and I like them. So I do recommend buying your textbook, but you don't have to wait for your teacher to tell you what textbook it is. It should be online on the campus bookstore's website. Some more questions. Let's see if we can read these questions. Will we have access to the content on MyStart even after? Oh, that's a question for Lindsay. She can take that one.
So it's a great question. I've asked several times. I'm just not totally sure of the answer. My answer in this moment is please try to do it before the start of class. So it'll be up there 100%, till if class is the 8th, it'll be up there till the 7th. It would be ideal if it's up there, to be totally honest, the whole semester. It'd be great if you can always go back and look. I'm just trying to figure that out with IT. So I don't want to promise anything. All I'll say at this point is please try to work through it before school starts. Sorry, I don't have a better answer for that one. Is there any art classes? I don't, I'm going to say, okay, I see Professor, I was going to say I don't believe so.
No, I don't think so, no.
And I think Professor was saying no, yeah.
Yeah, no. Oh, and by the way, guys, I know we're supposed to go for another 5 minutes. My family has just arrived home, and so I'm going to take off a couple minutes early if that's okay. This is how it works, I think, in the pandemic when we're working from home. But so I just want to thank everyone again, and especially all of the incoming students and the already there students who came out for this. I really appreciate all the questions, and I really appreciate Enactus for setting this up. I think it was really great. So I'm going to take off. If you got any questions, by the way, for me about anything, I'm happy to, just drop me an email. I'm happy to respond. But otherwise, see you later, everybody.
Before you leave, I just want to thank you for attending, and just spending your busy time, just coming and stopping by to talk for our panel. And yeah.
Yeah, my pleasure, Alex, and everybody. Thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah, Professor MacMillan's great. I had him in my first year for physics too, and he's a phenomenal teacher. So yeah, make sure you check out your schedule and get him as one of your profs. He's awesome.
I've also only heard good things about him, and seeing him speak now, it is all true. He's fantastic.
Definitely.
Oh, someone else said he's one of the fave profs. Yeah, I've only heard good things about him, so try to get him as your prof if you're taking physics.
Switch into his course, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way that he explains stuff, I had him for physics, and the way he explains stuff is amazing. It's in high school I hated physics, and then I went to university, I had him as a prof, and I all of a sudden love physics. It's great.
I've had students tell me they wanted to major specifically in certain areas because they had that course. So they were going into engineering, then they took physics and they switched to be a physics major. So he's great. Students really like him. So that's awesome. He was able to join.
Alex, do you want to close up?
Yeah, okay. So I'd just like to start by thanking everybody for attending our meeting and our guest speakers for taking time out of their busy schedule to stop by and give us a little bit of emotional support before we go into our school year. And yeah, I wish everyone the best of luck starting their journeys with their online education. And yeah, thank you very much for attending.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for hosting us, guys.
Lovely to meet all of you.
Definitely.
Good luck, everyone. You'll be fine. I promise. You will be fine. You got this.
Best of luck, guys.
If you guys want, there's a post-event survey. I just linked it into the chat, but we'll be sending an email out with that as well.
And feel free to follow us on Instagram for more stuff coming up.